Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to In the Bag. Brad, how are you doing today?
I am doing very well. Excited for another episode. We're at episode 70.
Episode 70. I want to go ahead on the front end and apologize to really all of our listeners, but specifically our audio listeners. My mic, I'm realizing the way that I had it set up and kind of bent my mic over the time is that the cord that plugs into my mic has over time become not great. And because of that mic is not working great. So I'm on my like portable headset kind of a deal. So it's okay, but it's obviously going to sound a little different. So
You're in full
I do
gaming
apologize,
mode.
everybody.
Yeah, Robbie C gaming mode right now.
Yeah, and I wish I could say even, oh man, when I do that, I use this headset. This headset is conveniently for when I'm not streaming and I'm just playing games with friends so that I can like get up and roam around and do stuff.
Yeah. I like portable Robbie. That's pretty fun.
Yeah. I got to go get a drink real fast between games. Okay, cool. You don't even realize I left the keyboard. So
that's funny.
What a time. Well, Brad, we got a fun episode, but speaking of fun episodes, I also see that you got a fun shirt on, which is convenient because In the Bag brought to you by Flippy Disc Golf.
Yeah, again, I think I went on for an hour last week about it, but they have some great monthly t-shirts. Make sure you check them out for visual folks.
Ooh, noodle arm.
Yeah, so pretty fun. I'm really loving his monthly designs. Also has, custom jerseys, custom polos that you can order for your clubs, your tournaments, to put all the sponsors on there as you're getting better, as you're putting better discs in the bag and playing more. Make sure you grab some of those as well. Robbie C collection, In the Bag collection, Foundation collection. Make sure you come out and support all those. A lot of great designs, a lot of great shirts. All comfortable. I mean, everything from casual, like what I'm wearing, to like more. I mean, it's casual for Robbie. This is what he just kind of wears, but. If you need to wear a polo or something like that out playing a tournament, Flippy has everything there. So we're very grateful for Aaron, all he does for us, and all the cool designs. We're working on some more. Foundation, we've got some cool ones working to kind of coincide with the Bogey Bro Tour and some of the iconic courses out there. I'll tease it a little bit. So those, be on the lookout for those as well.
Yeah, it's I love my Flippy gear. I wear it quite often, and now that you have that t-shirt club and all that, fantastic. So definitely check them out. Make sure you let them know and order comments and all that In the Bag sent you, and that way, we're doing what we can to help out a great company who's helping us out. So, with all that being said, speaking of great companies, great people, we want to go ahead and bring Zach in.
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do it. Welcome to the show, Mr. Zach. How you doing today, sir?
How you guys doing? I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be on the show.
Yeah, awesome, man. We're glad to have you.
Come on. I will say Zach is a friend. He's a Birdie fan member. Excited to have you on the show. Pumped to be here. I got to be a witness to Zach's first ever under par round. I remember awesome. He had not played under par, and we ended up being doubles partners together. And I was like, we literally at dinner the night before, he said he never shot under par. And I said, if we end up doubles partners tomorrow, trust me, I'll get you there. And so that's what we did at Inverness, which is our hardest course we have locally.
That's cool.
There was definitely a moment there when we were flipping to pick partners, and me and him both just odd man out turned and looked at each other, and I was like, no way. And got my first W too, so got a nice little birdie frame trophy to take home.
That's awesome.
Thank you for the experience, Robbie.
Hey, happy to do it. Well, thank you for the experience of coming on here for the show. We want our guests to get to know you as a player. So first question we always open up with, Zach, how long have you been playing disc golf?
So this is funny. Next month will be 1 year of me playing disc golf. So 11 months technically.
Come on. Okay. So not as new as our guest that we had last month or last episode. I think our guy last week was like 3 months, something like that, but still inside that bubble. And you can already tell for our visual watchers, Zach has that, he's got some discs hanging behind him. So the man is in on the sport. So we love to see it. Zach, we take you out to a field and we're like, all right, we're going to put the basket X amount of feet away from you. That can be open field. How far do you feel like you can consistently reach it with a backhand and a forehand?
I want to say when I step up to a tee, probably 300 and under. I'm pretty comfortable. Open field, both backhand and forehand. Anything kind of beyond 300, there's a little bit too much play, I think. It's kind of where I'm at. So okay. I want to say right around 300. If we're at 250 and under, I can bust out the pig, and it's forehand all day with the pig.
I love it. I love it. You can tell the people that I influence, guys.
Yeah,
as we come through and through.
Glow Sensei, pig. Yeah, I see a few.
Don't judge me.
Hey, I'm here.
Robbie C. Rafe.
I'm here for it. So awesome. Okay, so we got you there, and then let's put you on the putting green. And we said, hey, Zach, you got to make 10 putts from 15 feet, 10 putts from 25, and 10 putts from 40 feet. How many are you making at each station?
At 15, I could probably count myself good for 8 out of 10. At 20, the odds are getting lower, so we'll call it 50-50, probably 5 out of 10. I got about 20 feet that I practice with, so anything beyond 20 feet, it's a hope and a prayer. It's a throw the disc, and if it goes in, hey, guys, look at that. That was intentional.
And if not, it was an intentional layup. That's
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to park it, nice and easy this time.
Control the narrative. I love it. I love it. And then, Zach, I would say our final question is, what would you say is the biggest strength of your game?
I would say my biggest strength, honestly, probably forehand upshots. If the drive goes sour, I can normally get within putting range with a nice little forehand. 8 out of 10 times, I want to say.
Okay. And you're coming from Georgia, like the North Georgia-ish area.
Yeah, northwest.
Yeah, decent amount of woods golf up there. So good woods golf. And also, I would say the demographic for those of you not in the area of the courses is it's not just short pitch and putt woods either. There is like short pitch and putt in like a Swanee Creek or something like that. But there also is some length at a place like Sequoia or something like that. So
that's my home
can
course.
Really test the waters of what's really being asked of you. So we're going to walk through this bag. Very interesting bag that you have here. So and then we like looking at this, we're going to start drivers and work our way down because in discussion before we even come on the show, one of the areas of your bag that I would say you said you feel the least confident in is mid-ranges.
Yes.
And just trying to find that mid-range feel. So when Brad and I were even talking before the show started, that's kind of, Brad, you feel free to share. Like that's part of your journey as well, was struggling to find those mids you love.
Yeah, I think I've shared it before on the podcast, but it was more of like I put a bunch of drivers in, then I realized I couldn't throw drivers. So I'm like, oh, there must be more to this, right? So then I put a buzz in, and then I had a couple putters I started experimenting with throwing and putting with. And that gradually was like, oh, okay, well, once I'm getting my form a little bit better and I'm seeing some like distance difference between a putter and a mid-range, I get it. And like now I carry almost as many mid-range as I do any other type of disc in my bag. So I really feel like I have the control and the touch when I need it, but also the distance now too. So I've been playing a lot of mid-range golf as of late. So when I looked at your bag that Robbie sent me over, I can maybe see a little pain that I saw before or I felt before when I was kind of figuring out what my mid-range setup really needed to look like or what I felt comfortable with. And even up into the lower speed, like fairway drivers, like 7 speeds as well too. I see that, Zach, that you can only really have a few fairways in there too.
Yeah. I think, and to quote you in the bag 2 weeks ago, you said, I only have 1 or 2 mid-ranges in my bag. And I took that to heart. And I was like, that's me.
Yeah. I've definitely grown to where I carry 7 now, believe it or not.
Okay.
But again, I've really early on I had 1. I mean, when we started in the bag, I really had 1 on episode 1. I think I really just had a buzz. Maybe I was playing with the nebula at that point, but that's it. And like here we are. Yeah, I'd say even like 6 months ago, I maybe only had 3 or 4 that I was throwing, and now I've grown into that. So I'm excited to talk about your setup, and hopefully I can. This episode is going to be a little different. It's not going to be like a, hey, I went on through like 3 mid ranges for you. It's going to be like, hey, let's talk through yours. Robbie and I will talk through our thoughts, and then we'll pick one that we can send out to you that maybe like fits what we feel like from our own bag that feels like maybe might work for you.
Sounds perfect.
Come on. Well, starting with drivers, the distance drivers, you got 2 drivers in the bag. You have a Shrike and a Wraith. Super interesting just in terms of you even said it's the Robbie C Wraith, so it's a Star Wraith. And it's not a super overstable run of Wraiths, I would say, like a very neutral run. You can't, like, if you're someone who throws those, like your forehand has a ton of torque and your off axis torque, you're like yanking it over, it's probably not going to be an incredible flyer for you because it's not going to have the stability to necessarily just like fight out of it every time. And then the Shrikes can be very flippy depending on which Shrike you get. So how do your Shrike and your Wraith fly for you, Zach?
So the Shrike serves a singular purpose in my bag. If I have a big right turn, I throw the Shrike. It'll immediately go on Hyzer, turn, and disappear into the abyss. It's tried to run away from me twice. So it's very reliable. If I need a big Hyzer, I throw the Shrike, and it never comes back. I've never actually had it come back. So the negative 2/2, it's a -4 in my book. The Wraith, on the other hand, I want to say is the first disc I threw that gave me the flight I've been chasing, which is a nice 10 o'clock release. You get a subtle pan over to the right, maybe, and then it kind of has that dump at the end. So I've actually thrown my furthest distance shot with that Wraith, which was just over 400 feet. So the Wraith has been awesome just for longer backhand shots. I also use it for like flex annies on a forehand. So like if I'm in the woods and I got to shape it, have it go left and then dump back right, that's where the Wraith comes out the bag as well.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's so interesting. Is your Shrike like older, like beat in kind of a deal, or was it just kind of that way out the box?
It was kind of that way out the box, and then I lost it for like 2 months, had it returned to me, and now it's like really weathered looking. And since I got it back, it's just goes right, never comes back.
Okay. Would you say that your throw has more of like, are you a flat release, more of an Hyzer release? Are you a Hyzer guy? What would you say is like your default angle?
I want to say my default angle, I always try to release flat. It always seems to come out with a little bit of Hyzer. Everything just kind of dumps unless I'm consciously trying to release it with a little bit of Hyzer. Then it seems to kind of get that right to left pan I like.
Okay. So if you're looking for a straight distance shot, there's not really a disc that you've got in terms of like without manipulating like a forced angle. Because the Shrike's so like flippy that it just wants to get right. And then the Wraith has that stability to it that you can crank. Okay. Interesting. So I think,
between the two, the Wraith is the closest to like a straight shot, I would call it.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it sounds like you're leaning on your Wraith way more than you're leaning on the Shrike.
Yes.
So I think there's a world of that Wraith is going to beat in sooner rather than later the more distant shots you're throwing with it. So that one could slot into that more straight slot, and then another Wraith comes in to serve the purpose. If you're throwing a lot of forced or a lot of forehands, a Destroyer might be able to step into that slot. So very, very interesting. Another disc that I think is very Wraith-like, you can go the Kristen Tatar route and say like a Grace or something like that. I don't know if you've thrown a Grace, but I would say it's an easier to throw Wraith out of the box, but it also beats in significantly faster than a Wraith does. So it would hold that straight slot, but I think if you're throwing really hard, powerful shots, hitting a lot of trees, it'll become Shrike-like much faster. But but the Nimitz by Lone Star, Bravo plastic is insane to me. I don't understand why more people don't throw Bravo plastic. It is so wonderful in the hand. But that's an aside. Let's talk fairway drivers. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fairway drivers, and Brad may not be seeing one of them. So Brad, is the Firebird on your chart?
No, it's not on there.
Okay, so there's a Star Firebird in there for your recollection. So 5 fairway drivers. Let's start overstable, because I'm guessing some of these T-Bird 3s are more overstable than straight.
Yes, there's a difference. So you want to start more overstable. So Firebird, the Firebird's in there strictly for utility. That's why I forgot about it to the last minute. The Firebird really comes out when I want to throw it over out of bounds and let it kind of come back, or over water and let it come back reliably. Or if I know you guys have been there, you get stuck in the rough and you need like a U-turn to get out. That's when the Firebird comes out on like this vertical kind of forehand, and it'll turn the corner. The T-Birds on the other hand. So I loved my Star T-Bird. I've been using it since day one. It's always been my go-to forehand disc. It's now kind of hit the point where I think it needs to be retired. It just burns over if you put a little bit too much heat on it. Like if it's not dialed, it's just gonna dump straight into the ground. Same thing on a backhand. It just kind of wants to roll now. One too many trees. So I have the Champion Firebird. It's like the overstable Firebird. Or sorry, I keep saying Firebird. T-Bird 3. The Champion T-Bird 3 is in there as like the overstable champion like version. So I don't know. I don't really know what I'm doing with them right now. The Star one I think needs to come out the bag because I don't trust it anymore. Okay. But I love it too much to take it out. So I've been using the Champion one as like the reliable overstable shot. So
what's the difference between your beat-in Star T-Bird 3 versus an Escape?
The Escape feels like it has more of a controlled turn. So like when I throw the Escape, it has that nice little right to left pan. Versus when I try to throw the T-Bird 3, it's like sometimes it wants to pan right and then just dump real hard at the end to the left. So I don't get it to come all the way back over anymore. Sometimes on a forehand, if I can hit it with the perfect amount of Hyzer, it'll kind of flip up and go straight. But other than that, if it's too much Hyzer, then it wants to be overstable. So it's kind of like it's too overstable on Hyzer and it's like too understable on everything else, if that makes sense. I'm scared of understable disc.
Okay, let's talk about that, because that segues us into the that you have, which is understable. So what's the fear on understable discs? Like what happened in your storied past with understable discs?
Who hurt you?
Yeah.
So this one tree, it was that tree. I don't know, man. Like I've never really been able to figure out the Hyzer flip with the understable disc, if that makes sense. It's like if I put it on Hyzer, it's going on Hyzer. I don't understand the put it on Hyzer but throw it straight kind of concept. And also, like my experience, you know, when we were talking before this, the -1-1s, how I said they lie to me. Sometimes if something's a little too understable, I feel like I just crank it and it just gets late release to the right for some reason.
Yeah.
So I just don't trust it as much. The It is a new addition to the bag. It's been in there for about almost 2 weeks now. I got it to Hyzer flip once, but other than that, the few times I've tried to like just get it to go straight, I put it on Hyzer, I let it rip, it'll actually flip to flat, roll all the way over into a roller and just kind of like hit the ground and roll off somewhere. So that's kind of where I'm at with understable disc. I'm just very scared of the full just I give up fall over, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or the subconscious, like if I make it go right, it's gonna go really right and disappear.
Yeah, like your Shrike's doing.
Yeah, like the Shrike's doing. So that was my past experience when I first started. I really wanted a fuse, and I got a fuse, and I was like, yeah, I got a fuse. This is going to be awesome. And every time I threw the fuse, it just went straight to the right into a tree. Like, I never got it to go straight. I couldn't get it to even do like a normal shot with a fade at the end. It was just late releases every time. And I was like, I hate the fuse. I'm never throwing this thing again. And then I realized almost every mid-range is pretty much a fuse number-wise almost. But they all fly very differently as I'm learning.
Okay.
I have like 3 thoughts.
Yeah, fire away. I've got thoughts as well. Brad. Yeah.
No, I can't share them yet. That's going to be for the mid-range section, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
I'm curious of that.
So here's my thinking about this. And I mean, when we played together, this was March, was the Birdie Fam reunion? Okay, so you've come a long way since then, I'm sure. Like we're talking 6 months here, and you're playing a lot. So I would hope that you're improving over the last 6 months.
Since the Birdie Fam reunion, I got the bug. So I do tournaments as frequently as possible now. So I think I'm 7 or 8 tournaments deep now.
Okay.
Like that.
Do you mind sharing what you're rated right now?
So it hasn't updated yet. Hold up, let me look it up. No, because I factored in the last Swanky tournament that I did. So I should be at an 805, but I'm currently at a 782.
Okay.
But I have 2 career wins, so I'll take it.
Okay, I'll take it. That's so here's my thought. It's when you're throwing, how often would you say you're throwing full power shots versus smooth, softer shots? On backhands.
I want to say I throw full power less often.
Okay.
Because I'm so worried about, and we've spoken about this in the past, I'm so worried about that last step out to make sure I'm releasing properly that my walk up is very slow. Yeah. So sometimes that works in my favor. And then like, I think that 10% that I try to like, okay, I'm going to give it the beans now. Yeah. The slow walk up with the fast acceleration up top just doesn't match. Yeah. So I would say I'm throwing softer more often than not, maybe 70 or 80% on average. I never really go 100 because that's going to be a back here. Yeah. So I think that timing you're talking about in terms of like slow walk up to fast acceleration could be part of what's causing the yanks to the right and things like that, is because my feet being off timed with my upper body, getting those two, like you got 2 trains passing in the night and getting them to hit, boom, you get the Wraith 400 feet. Yeah. But then like on average, this is 300, this is 300, this is 320, this is 400. Like, you know, like there's for our visual watchers, that's going to make a lot of sense. For our audio listeners, I just did some really cool like hand dancing, and nice. You know, I'm actually a waterbender now, so it's fantastic. So these 2 trains pass in the night, so I think that could be part of it. And when it comes to the understable stuff, it is why Hyzer flips struggle for a lot of people is a nose up issue. So if we're throwing majority of our shots, we'll say nose up, it makes everything be more understable. So those rare occasions where you throw it nose down and you don't put as much Hyzer on it, that's where a lot of your understable stuff, when the stars line, you hit nose down, it's just going to burn to the right. So if you are struggling to get Hyzer flips and stuff like that, I would check your nose angle, and even like just shifting that finger out a little bit can help you get that nose, instead of being so tight on the rim, shifting it out just a little bit, putting that thumb a little deeper in the flight plate can help you really crank down and get that nose angle down. So that's a little fun tip for you. But I would say it's so interesting to me that the Escape and the T-Bird are they're very neutral. Yeah. It sounds like, in terms of they're not easily flipping, but they do have that consistent, like they kind of do it all. So I find the statement of -1-1s that are either like overstate, like they aren't actually neutral. It's just, yeah, it's very, very fascinating to me there. I would say keep working with the Okay.
It's don't give up on it, because when you start getting that nose angle down and you start connecting that, you're going to see a distance increase in all of your discs, and that it is going to be the first thing that you're going to start like seeing that Hyzer. And I would say just focus on crank that thing on some Hyzer, and over time you're going to see it start like
popping up.
It's either going to be on Hyzer and stay on Hyzer, and it's just over time going to start standing up more, and you're going to feel that out a lot more. So great second shot. What do you think about the Star T-Bird coming out, Brad? What are your thoughts?
You know, I think hang that one on the wall. You like it. You have good memories. If you can't trust it, it's just going to cause you confusion. You're going to just be like, oh, maybe I can trust it this time. You're going to pull it out. You're going to throw a bad shot. You're going to hurt your score. You're going to get discouraged. I think just if you like it, no one says you got to throw it away or recycle it. You can keep it. Just maybe take it out of there. Are you seeing a lot of difference between your Escape and your T-Bird, your non-beat-in one, your Champ one?
Yeah. The Champ one feels like super overstable. Like I throw that and it'll dump to the left.
Compared to your Escape. Your Escape's just more neutral.
Yeah, the Escape definitely wants to go right before it goes left.
Okay. So yeah, well that seems like it's the next step up. It doesn't really seem like you need it. And then again, to Robbie's point, when you have your it kind of dialed in, it's going to be a controlled version of where that T-Bird 3 is now, the beat-in one, where you can flip it, you can make it go right if you need it to. So that's kind of like naturally like giving some scaffolding there from your overstable to your very understable. So I think T-Bird 3 comes out, and I don't know, maybe even practice with it, like doing a little touch shot. Maybe since it is so understable, it can teach you a little control. Maybe don't keep it in your bag, but if you're doing some field work with it a little bit too, since you're already comfortable with the actual mold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Because I think like and we've talked about this in the past, like I know, Brad, we've had lots of guests that it's like, do you want that beautiful disc you have a relationship with, or the off the shelf option? And there really is no wrong answer in this. It sounds like the Escape is the off the shelf option of what your T-Bird 3 has become. So I would say like the only other side of the coin that I could consider is taking the Escape out and just continuing to beat in that T-Bird 3. But then you're going to have that issue of like that Champ T-Bird 3 is going to take way longer to beat in to get to that Star T-Bird 3 place. So if you lose the Star T-Bird 3, you know you have an Escape as an option. So definitely a couple ways you could play it, but I definitely agree with Brad. Like I think pull the T-Bird 3 out and just lean into the Escape. And who knows, maybe that Escape ends up turning into the flippiness that you want the it to be. And then you just replace the Escape. Like there's definitely cycle options there. Let's jump down to putters. We're going to skip over mids and let's jump down to putters, and we're going to dive through those real fast. So you got the Zone OS listed. I'm gonna cover it in the putter section just because I'm imagining it has very specific things you use it for. So what do you use it?
So the Zone OS, I picked up maybe a week or so ago, and it was a replacement for my owl pig that I lost, my prized owl pig, and yeah, I'm waiting for somebody to call me about that one. Some of the guys in the Birdie fam, of course, recommended the Zone OS. I got a soft plastic one. I used it a few times. Immediately went and bought the better plastic version of it, and was parking holes all day with it. So I've only actually taken it to the course once. But the Zone OS is strictly forehands. I haven't tried to really backhand it. Like me and Daniel, one of the Birdie fan members, were trying to throw it on Hyzer and see if it would stick, and it just kept dumping over. And I was like, okay, it's too overstable. But it pains me to use the word like pig replacement. It's been a very good pig replacement on the upshot, because the pig, when I throw it with a little bit of Hyzer and get it to kind of like do the little flex flight, if there's too much Hyzer, the pig will hold the ante and disappear. But the Zone always comes back. So I like the Zone because I can like chop it and know it's going to come back. But that's all I use it for. So that's why I consider it a putter or an approach disc.
Yeah, I shot a video that's not coming out for a couple weeks, and I threw the Zone OS compared to the Harp, and
Mhm.
or not the Harp, the Zone OS compared to the Justice. Big difference there. And I was like, wow, I really like this. So I took the Zone OS for the first time to a course during a tournament round to play with it, and it's like a hole that I know I throw really well with this Flex Justice shot. And the Zone OS, I was like, all right, cool. I just throw the same shot. And
Mhm.
I ended up in a completely different fairway because I threw that thing on some Annie. And by the time it had come off of my fingers, it was fighting out. And I was like, oh, that's curious. Okay, cool, 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 cool. So wild, wild experience there. So I definitely would not consider the Zone OS a pig replacement, but I would definitely consider it like a good, reliable, overstable option. So you
Mhm.
have another R Pro pig. What's it doing for you?
It's the upshot king. I've thrown it on forehands. Anything pretty much 200 or less. It's always going to be the pig. So if you guys are ever out on the course with me, you're going to see I throw my drive, I get to wherever my lie is, and I pull the pig out. That's kind of what I use the pig for. I've gone through about 5 or 6 pigs in the past like 6 months. That one's still brand new, but I don't want to mess that one up or lose that one, so it's staying on the wall. Yeah, so the pig is the everything in between. Once I'm in putting distance, the putter comes out. When I'm driving, the driver comes out, but on the in between, it's the pig.
Okay. Yeah. And the R Pro it's fun because it beats in really fast and you can cycle them really fast, but it's a bummer because it beats in really fast and you have to cycle them
And
really
you have
fast.
to cycle them really fast. The reason I like the pig for all those in between is the R Pro, because if I need it to stick, the R Pro is going to stick more than like those clear plastics or like something in like Lucid or Star that's going to like skip.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. One day when Innova actually cares about the people, and they release Halo pigs, I'm going to be very curious how it actually flies and if I actually end up liking it. Now, 2 other discs. You've got a Sensei and an Envy. Are you putting with the Envy?
no, so the Envy was given to me for straight shots.
Okay.
So the Envy comes out for tunnels mostly. So if I see a nice wooded tunnel, which I encounter frequently, the Envy comes out. I could give it a nice flat release, and it just goes straight, and it almost fades kind of straight. It's weird. It's like the number. Like I had to Google it, and the Envy's supposed to be like a 0.2, and this one does not fly like a 0.2. It's very just on a rope.
What plastic is it in?
I'm not sure. It was a gift. It's Metallica dyed. It was given to me by a Birdie fan member.
Huh. I wonder if it's
I like
Electron. Like, does it feel like a base plastic or does it feel premium?
It almost, I don't know. Like I'm so inexperienced. To me, it almost feels like it's gyro, if that makes sense. Which, because like the outside feels like stiff, and then the inside's like softer, if that makes sense. Like, but
Yeah.
there feels like there's like a separation on it.
Yeah.
Mm.
I can go
almost
bust
guess
it out.
Yeah. If you want to go check for that,
hold
go
up.
check because I think Brad, I know, has a disc very similar. I'm thinking.
Okay, hold
Yeah,
on.
yeah, I'll be interested to see because I mean, anyone who's watched me throw that blue and orange Envy, it's not an Envy. It's so beat up that it does not fly like an Envy should. It's really like a beat up proxy. If I'm giving it any kind of title, yeah, I'll be curious to see if this is an Electron because yeah, that's not an Envy flight. Not even a beat up Eclipse Envy flies straight like that.
Yeah. What's your guess before he pulls it up? Because I think it's some form of Electron.
Yeah, or Neutron.
Okay, let me see if it says it on here.
It's Eclipse.
I was going to say it looks very eclipsy.
Yeah, so that's Eclipse for sure.
Oh, then there you go.
Does it glow?
I've never checked. It looks like it'll glow. Like the yellow on here looks like it'll glow.
Yeah, that's definitely an Eclipse envy. So what happened? I don't know. Maybe during the dyeing process too. Maybe it made it a little straight for you.
Yeah, it's when it was given to me. I was told this thing goes straight. It wants to go straight. I bless it to you, and yeah, I give it the beans. I snap it, and it on a rope.
I love it. Okay, so the Glow Sensei and its counterpart is a more overstable throwing putter, like it's
Yes.
going to fade.
Yeah, so the Sensei, it's weird. I like to actually throw the Sensei now that I have a disc. I like to throw the Sensei kind of from this angle and pop it into some slight ante, and then
Okay.
it gives me like a nice little like approach shot to the basket. So whenever I got to get out from behind the tree and kind of like hit it on a weird angle is when the Sensei comes out.
Fascinating. What do you putt with?
Daggers.
Good man. Good man. Okay. Okay.
I've recently switched to daggers. So
Same, brother. But
I love them.
Happy to be there. All right, let's talk mid ranges. So I'm gonna back off a little bit here because it's been a long time since I like walked through the journey of how do I feel about mids? Which mids do I want? Things like that. So so let's start with the Buzz because the Buzz is the place that you and Brad both were. You've experienced a lot of mid ranges. I think the list that you sent me, you said Fuse, Origin, Mako 3, the Pearl, EMAC Truth, and the M4 is the newest one in the bag.
Yes.
And you have a Glow Buzz in your bag right now.
Yes.
Let me just say,
and I'm sure there's more back here.
Yeah, I feel like I know what you're looking for already before we even got to it. And I think I have 3 recommendations for you that you're gonna be like, yes, this is what I'm looking for.
Wow.
But yeah, I just based on the choices, the things that you're trying, and you're like, oh, not quite it, not quite it. What's in there right now? I know what you're looking for. I know
The
3.
crystal ball.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah. So right now in your bag you have a Buzz, a Glow Buzz, a Truth. Is it a regular Truth or EMAC Truth?
It's a regular Truth.
And then an M4 is the new addition to the bag. Which one has been kind of like your standby, like the one that's kind of stayed in there as you're trying other ones? Is it just the Buzz?
It's just a Buzz. It's just a Buzz, and I will preface that with saying I've tried like 3 or 4 other Buzzes, and I don't like them, but I like my Buzz, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It flies different.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you like about the Buzz your Buzz specifically?
So I can throw it flat, have it go easily 250-ish straight before it starts to fade, and the fade is kind of subtle. To me, it's always felt more like a 0-2 or something like that. Like it does have like a long pan to the left when it fades. But every other Buzz that I've tried to throw, like I got one back here, the pink one. Like this one was doing what the other mid ranges do. When I throw it, it goes right and doesn't come back. But that's the one weird thing about my Glow Buzz is like I can't get it to flex. Like if I put it on Annie, it won't fight back either. So it's kind of. But I like it because it feels more overstable, and I haven't been able to find the numbers on that Glow plastic.
Okay. Yeah. So did you buy your Glow Buzz new or used?
New. It was a Black Friday sale. And I was like, oh, Buzz.
Okay. So the Truth is in there right now and the M4, right? So how long has the Truth been in there? Are you still just kind of testing it out, or is it kind of like sticking in there because it's being useful for you?
I've honestly just had the Truth in there almost as long as the Buzz. I don't know why I keep it in there. I haven't taken it out because in my mind I'm like, one day I'm gonna need the Truth and it's not gonna be here.
Yeah.
But that's honestly the only reason it's in the bag. I don't have a lot of discs that'll hold an Hyzer on a backhand, but that Truth can. So
okay. And then the M4 is a new addition. What's the M4 been flying like for you? Pretty understable?
Pretty straight, honestly. I don't want to call it a Hyzer flip, but it's like from my natural release, it does kind of like pop up and then just kind of glide out a fair ways before it decides to fall out. So I've been liking it. It's actually, it's my girlfriend's,
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of like stole it from her to see if I would like it.
Yeah.
So far so good. It's a little bit more understable than the Buzz. Yeah.
Okay. So here's where I'm going to make some assumptions, and then you just tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Okay.
Because I think this is where I was with mid-ranges. This is the only reason I'm even along this path here. I think you are looking for mid-ranges that you can rely on and put the beans on it, as you call it, like you do your fairways, but do mid-range things.
Yes.
Okay. So that's assumption number one. Assumption number two, you like putters and approach discs, so you want mid-ranges that have the same hand feel as those discs in a comfort level versus like, I think my aversion to mid-ranges at first is like, I didn't find a lot of them very comfortable in my hand. They were like bulky or deep or had weird angles, and I just didn't love them. So would you say you like are more comfortable with the hand feel of approach discs and putters?
Yes, for sure. I've never found a mid-range that I would forehand. So none of those mid-ranges I would forehand.
Okay. Awesome.
So
okay.
That's weird.
So that's what I'm thinking. And obviously I think what you're looking for, it seems like you really like manipulating the line of your disc. Like you really like throwing a more like full flex shot versus like a straight shot, or like something that Hyzer flips and goes straight, because there's like, you're more comfortable with the touch and like the gauging of the flex line versus like trying to guess how they're going to fade out. Is that another good assumption? That seems like a shot you're throwing a lot.
Yeah, I'm very good at predicting the first half of the fairway, and then after that, it's like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that part.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that it seems just like a lot of your shots and your other discs, like you're kind of leaning on the ante line, which is fine. Especially, I don't know the courses you're playing, so that may be a good thing, or that's just comfortable to you. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to.
There's a reasoning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason is my forehand broke like 2 months ago, and I've been trying to fix it again.
Mm-hmm.
So all those shots I used to rely on the forehand off the tee pad, I'm now having to rely on Hyzer shots. And I was never comfortable throwing Hyzer shots until I had to. Mm-hmm. And this happened mid-tournament. So it's been an ongoing thing since then.
Okay. All right. So here's what I think, because initially my thought was the disc that helped me figure out how to throw a touch mid-range shot or touch putter shot more than any disc I've ever thrown was the uplink, because that disc you cannot put a lot of beans on. You just can't do it. It'll just get destroyed. It'll burn over and flip. But if you learn to throw a little like 50% power shot, you can get that Hyzer flip up and gentle turn right every time. You just have to throw it, and it let me kind of focus on form a little bit internally. It let me work on that flip up and turn shot, which is something very beautiful about a right hand backhand, or I guess a left hand backhand. It's just different direction, but Hyzer flip up and turn shot. It makes you feel like you're incredible at disc golf. It was a big confidence booster. So just as a practice aid in teaching you that shot, I would recommend uplink almost to anybody, especially newer players like myself even. I mean, I just think that's just a great skill to have. And I think that will make you comfortable with that disc. I think it'll make you comfortable with an understable putter, because it's going to take even more touch. But I think it's also going to make you comfortable with something like an or understable fairway and drivers. It made me more comfortable with like a sail that I can now, because of that touch and like that angle control, I can now throw like a roller, and that's a useful tool to have with like a sail or something like that. So I think like an uplink would be a great addition.
I've contemplated the uplink in the past, so it's funny that you say that.
Yeah, I think the expectation has to be, I'm going to throw this really crappy until I calm myself down, because that's what I had to do. I'm like, what's going on with this thing? And then the shot that actually made me think, because I was just frustrated on the course, I think I talked about on an episode, is I threw a little touch forehand with it because I was pinched off in a tree. I needed to go left on a forehand, and I really could only throw a lot of Hyzer just from where I was. And I just did a little touch shot with it. It flipped up and went left for me on forehand. And I was like, oh, I have to be gentle with this disc. That's the key. And then the rest is history. I have one in my bag to this day. So I think that's a good tool for you. Robbie, if you want to lean into that before I move on with my tangent.
No, I retweet. Completely agree. Like it's almost go to that extreme end of it for sure. So that way, and the uplink just glides so much that like it's beautiful. You don't have to crush it. It just does what it needs to.
Yeah, and that sounds like almost exactly what I've kind of been looking for, because those kind of, like you say, those nice easy 50% shots I kind of have a hard time with. I call those the playing catch shots.
Yep.
That just kind of seem to like pop, and you're like, wow, that's a beautiful, nice and floaty shot. I'm really bad at those.
Yeah, and they're so helpful. Again, I think it also controls some of like even if you like have a mishap on a throw, if you're throwing like that, I think there's a little less like negative effect on that back end of that swing. So I think it's just a good thing. For me, another game changer was the lobster. It's like the uplink's like tougher brother. What I like about my lobster, and I immediately thought of you when you're talking about kind of was the Sublime lobster. And this, I've thrown many Sublime lobsters now. So in my experience, if you get them a little heavier weight, they're all like this. A little heavier weight Sublime lobster, you can put the beans on with a little bit of Hyzer, and they will flip up and go very straight with a very subtle turn. Even with a lot of power pumped into them, they'll hold that line and turn. But it won't be a fast turn. It'll just be a slight turn if you're looking for that type of shot.
That's perfect.
Yeah, or if you put a little more Hyzer on it, it just will flip up and go very straight for a long time. And I think that's a great shot to have as well.
You're describing it, man.
So that's probably like my main recommendation for, I think, what you're looking for. Also, the hand feel of that disc is very putter-like. I like the lobster because it has a similar. I'm being a little bit like figurative here, but it has a very like similar hand feel to my Envy. Just like it's a little deeper, a little more rounded, which I tend to like. And it just feels like it comes out smoother. I don't get hung up on any beads or any weird stuff on it. And it goes really straight and really far for me and has a lot of glide. Then probably like next in your lineup, I mean, if you're comfortable with your buzz and you like your buzz, I think the buzz is maybe like the next slot there. But a disc I would challenge you to try is the Hex, even like a Fission Hex. Again, with a Fission Hex, it's going to be a lighter weight. You don't have to kill this disc for it to go really far. And is it a -1-1, Robbie? But we were kind of talking about this in another conversation, but I don't feel like it's a -1-1. It doesn't fly like that for me. Someone that throws really far, probably Robbie probably throws like 100, Trevor throw it probably like that. But for me, it's more like a 0-1 because it'll glide and go really straight and really far and have a little bit of gentle fade at the end. I can trust in it. Again, that's not with a ton of like, I don't have to kill this disc to get out there. I can put the beans on it. I love saying that as much as I can.
I catch on.
Yeah, I know. It's the trade. But yeah, I love doing that and it goes really far. But I also like think it has like a very reliable fade and not a ton of fade. So maybe that would even kick out the buzz, because I think the Hex is what a lot of people want to buzz. It's what I wanted a buzz to be, and the buzz was not that. Yeah. But that's why the Hex kicked the buzz out. And I had that buzz for a really long time. But it just flew like that. And then I think you kind of just get into like maybe experimenting with an overstable mid-range. The one I would probably recommend, in my favorite still this day, it had a close contender, but the Bobcat is my favorite. It's like a longer, like it's not quite a Zone OS. It's like a little more, in my opinion, a little more overstable than a Zone, like your stock ESP Zone. But I like forehanding that mid range. When you said I have not found one I like the forehand, I like forehanding that. It feels very Zone like, so it's very comfortable to forehand. Very overstable, and it's just, I mean, very consistent. And I think if you're looking for like a full like flex line, like that's the type of disc you probably want with that as well. And again, that's probably like to the opposite end. It's pretty overstable. You can even go like MX1, that's like extremely overstable, but I like the hand feel again of the Bobcat much better. So that would maybe give you kind of an option of more like a neutral, like a slight turn, very understable. And then on the opposite side, you could even do like the Hex. Probably that buzz sounds like maybe a tick more overstable, and then the Bobcat, and really kind of like almost mimicking what you have going on in your putters and your approach disc up in your mid range. That's where I really started to get into mid ranges. I'm trying to mimic like my comfort and my approach game up in my mid ranges just to get a little bit more distance on those.
Okay. I never really thought about it like that. Because every time I step up to a mid range, I guess I'm trying to throw it like a driver, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, my mid ranges, and again, I did play a little bit of like golf growing up. I mean, I actually played quite a bit, but I loved like a 7-iron. Like I loved that, and that's kind of what I'm treating my mid ranges like. They're like my 5-iron, 7-iron shots that I need some finesse with them, and I still need them to go pretty far, but I need some finesse, and I'm trying to really like tactically put them somewhere. So I know I'm sacrificing power and probably some distance for that, but I'm okay with that for accuracy. So that's really what I'm doing. And again, I think approach discs are slow speed, high accuracy. Mid ranges are probably still a little bit more accuracy, but you are getting to more length and a little bit more distance. You're like ring of error is kind of opening up that you're okay with. And then, fairways and drivers are just kind of opening up that. To me, my drivers are like, I don't care. I just need to get this thing out as far as possible. Or I'm fighting something, or I need to do something a little dramatic, and I don't really care about the like margin of error.
It sounds like our games are very similar in that aspect. As the disc speed goes up, the error for margin increases in my head. Oh
yeah, I'm not even in my head. Mine's on the field. Like I mean, and it's sometimes just a little catastrophic. But yeah, no, I think, and once you can find like the discs that you like in your mid range category, like. I wasn't confident at all in my mid ranges, but once I found the disc that kind of mimicked like that step up that I wanted, and I kind of embraced that philosophy, I will now, where before I'm like, man, I only feel comfortable with a driver, and if it's not a driver, it's an NV. Now I'm like pulling out mid ranges more and more and more often because I'm like, yes, I have that shot. Actually, I have multiple of those shots. Okay, so even if my error is like 20 feet, I know which disc to get to make sure I get the job done there.
Sounds good to me. The hex I've been wanting to try out. I was doing a little research on it last night, and I'm like, ooh, gyro. I've heard good things. So, but then we run the risk of becoming gyro addicted, like somebody else I know.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Now, hey, I will say this. I have some gyro in my bag. It is not taken over my bag. It's not a plague. So I think now
I've never thrown it, but on paper, it's like it's promising all my hopes and dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of promise for you. I think, again, the uplink, obviously, I recommend it will be gyro. Hex is gyro. Lobster and Bobcat are made by MVP. Okay, maybe it has. MVP. So just all of them have like the gyro rim. We'll just say that. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my thoughts, Robbie, as far as like what I would maybe like the theory and like the approach just from my own personal experience and getting me comfortable with them.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it is the idea of overpowering mid ranges to throw them like drivers completely there. Like, yes, you can throw a mid range super hard. Yeah, you can do that. But the beauty of it is you don't have to. You don't have to swing your 7-iron like you swing your driver. Like it won't work as well when you do that. And I think that is a concept that we do not often carry into disc golf of matching the club speed. And so I definitely think it could help. So my thought is, Zach, if we put one of these or two of these in the mail, would you be willing to come back on and let us know if it's like filling slots for you?
Yes, sir. 100%.
Come on.
Help me fix my bag, guys.
Yeah.
Hey,
we have a podcast for that.
Yeah. And the mid-range slot, like, I mean, there are lots of people who are, especially when you find yourself in that shorter range, it can be tough trying to find, like, if I'm throwing my putters 220, 250, and I'm throwing my fairway drivers 280, like, I can just back off a fairway or try to beef up a putter. I don't really need mids, but you'll find, like, man, I can get that easy 280 out of my mids, and it's just it's more worth it. There's more control and less like flares, less ground action, things like that. So, Zach, yeah, if you're willing to come back on, we'd love to have you, man.
Yes, sir. I'd love to come back.
Come on. Awesome. Well, we will see you on a future episode then.
Sounds good, brothers. Let's hit the field and kind of see what I come back with.
Yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate you.
Man, it is when we wrapped it with Zach just saying, like, it's fun if you're listening and you're a future guest to come on the show. The more you can like really think about, why do I have these discs in my bag? And that can come down to even Zach. I think like a great example of so many people have this disc in their bag, but they don't realize they do until they talk about it, is he talked about that truth. Like, I just had it in there. I don't really know why I have it in here anymore, but like, I knew if I take it out, I might feel bad about it. So just very, very interesting. So if you're a future guest, you get that email that comes to you one day and it's like, hey, interesting coming on in the bag. Almost like run a little trial run before you come on and be like, okay, why do I have this? Why do I have this? And I promise it makes for a really fun conversation, and hopefully for you guys listening, a better listen. So
absolutely.
We really do appreciate Zach coming on, especially because we filmed at a weird time for our normal recording stuff. So he made it work for us. But, we're sending Zach a little mystery box of some options. And that brings us to do that. We have to check the warehouse. So, Brad, what's new in the warehouse?
All right. So this is a weird one because we're like filming very early in the week. So I've got all kinds of stuff on the way, but it's not here yet.
Ooh.
I'll give you a heads up. I need to check the drop date on some of this stuff. The UFO from Mint did come out yesterday at the time of this recording. So that was fun. Did a little Warehouse Guys throw. Definitely like more of like a putting putter probably, but it had some like floaty, lofty upshot options. That was pretty fun. There's some cool free tails and Sublime plastic that have this really cool design that came out as well. We have some Discmania restock. We have some MD3s back in stock. We have S-Line P2s back in stock. The Discmania Glow FD3s are in. The S-Line DDs are in. Jason and I threw that for Warehouse Guys Throw. That disc, when it comes out, is making the bag. I could throw that very far. It flew like it intended to, and the 6 glide on it is real, guys. So just hyping that up. So those will all be dropping soon. The biggest thing was our big MVP restock from last week. We have a ton of that. I think we're going to do our MVP Simon commemorative disc pre-sale on Friday. So heads up for that. And then I want to also give a shout out all you in the bag listeners that left your comments for the subscription boxes and your orders last week. Thank you. That was like a very, it was an awesome thing to come into. Jason and I were working on the orders on Tuesday morning when we came back from Labor Day, seeing all those notes, and thank you for saying in the bags helped you. Like that's really cool for us. So all of you, if you're checking out that 3-disc subscription box, you do not want to miss this month's. It's like a $80 value. It's crazy. Multiple swag items, multiple discs as always, stickers, you name it. Very, very special guest collab for this month. So when you're picking up that subscription box, make sure you put in the bag in the notes. We love seeing you all supporting us. Thank you for supporting us like you do. Even if you're just placing an order, you're like, hey, I really could use a lobster too, which we have in stock, by the way. Make sure you leave a message on your order. We'll give you a little shout out. I always anybody that I see with it in the bag note on their order, I personally go pick it myself. I feel responsible for you. Want to make sure you just get the best care before they get shipped out to you. So a ton of stuff coming up later this week. We'll have some trilogy stuff coming in. Thought Space is up and ready to go from last week. So if you're a Thought Space person, make sure you check out that. But as always, recently restocked on the website. As you log in foundationdisc.com, boom, there you go. First thing you see is recently restocked. That's your best friend. That'll tell you everything new that's going up throughout the week. And we just appreciate you all so much. So, as you're shopping the website, as you're getting some merch, get a hat, some Rip Revenge, a few new discs, maybe a lobster, maybe an Omen. You never know. But what you do know is once you get it in the mail, once I personally pull it off the shelf, you can put it in that bag because you know it's good. We'll see y'all next week.
See you next week.